Hi, welcome to our channel. I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Steve.
And this is First Time for Everything. On a recent cruise to Iceland, one thing I really wanted to do was see the puffins. So we're going to tell you all about the experience, how we got there, what we did, and maybe learn some cool puffin facts along the way. There's a first time for everything. So let's go. On the northwest coast of Iceland is a cruise port of Seydisfjordur. The ships traverse through a fjord to get to the small village with the tiny blue church, which is where our excursion originated. From Seydisfjordur, we took a shuttle bus through some extremely scenic landscape to get to Hafnarholmi at the harbor in Borgarfjörður Eystri. Please forgive my Icelandic. I'm doing my best. I had my heart set on seeing the puffins, but when we booked the cruise, Royal Caribbean's Excursion was already sold out. Thankfully, I discovered a website for Wild West Fjords, which is also known as Arctic Shorex, and I'm going to put that link below. And I booked their Puffins and Elves tour. Once you get to what is referred to as the most accessible Atlantic Puffin colony in Iceland, you walk up an incline and down a number of stairs, cross a small harbor, and then you start the walk up the boardwalk steps to the platforms where you are above, below, and surrounded by literally thousands of puffins. They say more than 60% of the world's puffin population breeds in Iceland, and it's estimated that more than 10,000 nesting pairs find their way to this particular area each year. So these boardwalks will get you within inches of some of these birds, which are also known as sea parrots or clowns of the sea. And there's a little building with some activities and information that the kids might enjoy. Windows to sit and watch the puffins no matter what the weather. When you look across the harbor to the small island nearby, you start to see just how many nests there are. Each of these burrows will house a nesting pair during the season who will raise their puffling together. Isn't that the cutest word? Puffling. Puffin pairs will generally only have one offspring per season. Using their beaks, the puffins will dig holes about 3 feet deep and start nesting. Their beaks are only this bright orange color during mating season though. In the fall, the outer shell will shed and it will return to their typical brownish gray. One of the more interesting facts we heard about the puffins is that they are generally monogamous. They spend their winter months apart, and when they return to their nesting grounds in the spring, if their previous mate doesn't show up in time, they might choose another one. But if the original mate shows up, the new one is often forced from the nest. I'm not sure if that's what was happening when I took this series of photos, but it's the scenario I imagined. Just look at that lonely puffin. Hopefully they found another mate who was also unattached. Did you know that puffins can drink seawater? They have special glands behind their eyes that can filter out the salt from their blood, which is then secreted from their nostrils. Really weird, but it's handy when they're far out to sea for the rest of the year. So some of the things to note: the passenger van that is used is narrow, like a lot of the equipment in Europe. So if you are a little wider in the hip like I am, you may have to apologize to everybody as you walk to your seat. There is also quite a bit of walking and climbing from the parking lot to the boardwalk near the puffins. Stairs, uneven ground. If you have mobility issues, you might find the trek a little bit difficult, but it's well worth it if you're able. So if you're in Iceland and you have a rental car, I would highly recommend going, and you can stay as long as you like. The one thing that I would have preferred to do is visit the cafe and gift shop, which we just didn't have time during this excursion. In any case, well worth it. So the Elves part of the Puffins and Elves tour was on the way back to the port. We stopped at this little tiny village, and the story is at the top of the hill is where the Queen of the Elves lived. And if you go up there, you can win favor with her. So it is a bit of a hike, but we made our way to the top of this little hill and looked all around. I would recommend it just for the view. The Elves piece simply added to it.
I have to admit, when Cheryl told me that she wanted to go see the Puffins, my expectations was what we would have seen at SeaWorld. A half a dozen to a dozen puffins behind glass wasn't a big deal, but I'm glad we went. When we got there and I saw 10, 20, 30, as Cheryl mentioned, thousands of puffins. It was an amazing experience, and I highly recommend this tour company as well as this tour for anyone who's interested in seeing it.
We hope you enjoyed this video. Please follow along for more of our first-time adventures by clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel. I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Steve.
This is First Time for Everything. Cheers until next time.